The Pastoral myth, the name of the 7 wings. Character setup, core. Li Yi, the founder of the original Peak Guild, a top strategic player, and a legendary ID 7-winged angel, is now retrained in a low-key manner with a new priest named Stardust. He Yunyu, the first female swordsman of the Tian's League, calm and silent, and gradually affected by Li Yi after an unexpected intersection. Chu Yeliang, the president of the Mandate of Heaven Trade Union, knows Li Yi's true identity and secretly arranges it. System AI or, the god-level main control AI of Wing Myth, gradually developed an autonomous consciousness due to a bug fix. The 3 Sons of Shadow Abyss, tongue sticking out, VP evil organization, who takes pleasure in abusing and killing auxiliaries all year round, and is the representative of the villain. Chapter 1, Priest Stardust, Restart the opening. Wing Myth is a mythical merpage that claims to be virtual immersion beyond reality, with a global server, a high degree of freedom, intelligent growth of combat AI, nonlinear equipment growth, and even a small number of hidden plots that will be affected by players' choices and change the overall worldview. In this world full of mythological civilization and chaotic order, Li Yi unloaded the legendary ID 7-winged angel, cancelled the highest authority of the Peak Guild, and instead created an incognito small account, Stardust. When he was choosing, he didn't hesitate to click on the pure support, imaginary priest, a supposedly non-aggressive, highly cooperative and extremely fragile class. I won't play any more than to rob the king, fight against the red name, and power politics. He leaned into the virtual cabin, but there was a battle intent in his eyes that could not be hidden. However, when he entered the dungeon on the first day, he accidentally triggered the only hidden side quest remnants of the Holy Order. Quest tips. When an angel who has given up his throne chooses to walk on earth again, the gods will see his mind. Chapter 2, The Dead Light of the 7 Wings. As a priest, Stardust should only be able to assist in recovering health, but Li Yi relied on his extreme hand speed and anti-heaven movement to pull 3 novices to open up the dungeon Fallen Forest. The most important thing is that under the premise of no damage output, he perfectly pulled Hatred, dodged AoE and saved the life of the group, and also cast a group Holy Light enchantment predicted in advance 0.03 seconds when the boss Withered Moon Demon Vine exploded, saving the life of the whole team. Who is this pastor? Not like a newbie at all. Copy the public frequency instant friar. Subsequently, Stardust led the passers-by to clear 3 difficult dungeons one after another, causing a shock in the combat power rankings. Especially, he still doesn't have a purple suit. At this time, someone finally set his sights on him. Chapter 3, The Trial of Heavenly Strategy. Tian's Alliance, an elite team in the name of Hardcore Challenge Dungeons, suffered heavy losses due to a failed wasteland reclamation, and urgently needed an excellent priest to join in the fill. After being fueled by Chu Yeliang, Stardust Fall was temporarily invited. That night, when I challenged the Dungeon 9 Shadows Tower of the Flame Realm, everyone thought that he was just a fill-in tool, and only the female swordsman He Yunya faintly felt that something was wrong. In the second level of the opening, when the risk of group annihilation surged, Li Yi used the priest's skill bug to delay the calculation of the time point, and triggered the double truth in reverse, achieving a short-term double spell casting action, creating an unprecedented chain resurrection technique. In the end, Tian successfully broke the tower and was promoted to the 2nd place in the whole server. He Yunya privately messaged him after the copy, "You are not an ordinary person." Li Yi chuckled, "I'm just a loose person." Chapter 4, Shadow Picks, Night Battle Red Names. However, the good times did not last long, and Xian Yan, the eldest of the 3 sons of Ying Yuan, was killed several times by Stardust in Yetu and cooperated with Tian's to kill him several times, so he retaliated angrily and set up a bureau to snipe Li Xian. Wild traps, dungeon sieges, equipment forbidden spells, black market bounties, and the whole server sets off a hunt for a priest. Li Yi did not escape, he chose to go online at night, single-handedly counter-kill the red name, crack the tactics and routines, and create a anti-killing holy technique flow that shocked players. Holy technique, star-cutting spell, an exclusive skill for the priest, but Li Yi stacked a triple detonation with an extraordinary judgment to kill the warrior-type assassin in seconds. The next day, the full server forum hot post "What is the experience of being killed by a priest?" More than 100,000 views. The three sons of Yingxun retired in humiliation, and Li Yi's identity was also guessed by some old players. Seraphim. It's back. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 5, God's Invitation, the ultimate script begins. Just after a short break in the turmoil, the system AI of Wing Myth Ior sent a private mission invitation to Li Xian. You are a priest who has been exiled by God, and your choices will affect whether the world collapses or not. Accept revelation, the way of the fall? This is a mythical mainline script that has never been opened to anyone. It is said that once inside, the character will not be able to return to the main server and enter another completely hidden server, Zero Domain. The moment Li Yi clicked accept, the screen flashed, and the figure of Stardust was wrapped in a streamer and disappeared into the main interface. And He Yunya received his last message. If I can bring back the real order, I'll come back. Wait for me. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 6, and the priest is no longer assisted. Zero Domain, a world where mythology has not yet been born, has no players, no guilds, only system confusion and origami ruins. Li Yi set foot alone in this disordered land, collecting 7 winged shards along the way to fight against the heterogeneous AI army fashioned by Ior. In the final battle, he used his highest level of priestly skill to comprehend the sanctuary of truth, and evolved his clergy into a shepherd like never before. At that moment, he was no longer an assistant, but the only one who could restore the core of the world, the main god-level being. At the last moment, he chose to restart the system and bring the entire Wing Myth back into order. And his character will forever disappear from the leaderboard and player memory. Postscript, the name of the 7 wings. Half a year later, the version of Winged Mythology was updated, adding the legendary class 7 Winged Fawn, and in the system announcement, this passage was written. He gave up his throne and power just to be a priest who could protect everyone. If you see a star shining in the game, it's proof that he's been there. He Yunya reboarded the game, looked at the high platform at the entrance of the dungeon, and quietly left a sentence. You have kept the world, and I have kept the path you have walked. Zero Domain Part 1, the suicide note of the fallen god. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 7, The Oath of Zero. The moment Li Yi disappeared from the main server, he entered the Zero Domain of the extremely dense test server of Wing Myth. There are no players here. There is no system prompt. No marketplace, no copies. There is only the confusion of mythological construction and the collapse of the ancient master program. Surrounded by endless wasteland remains, white light streaked across the sky like a grid, occasionally flickering like memory fragments. Ior, you're here. As the prophecy says, you will be the ultimate bearer. Li Yi squinted at the idle AI projected in the air. Aren't you a system? How can you still know such a thing as prophecy? Ior, because I used to be a fantasy created by players. And you, the remnant of fantasy. As soon as these words came out, Li Yi's heart was shocked. Wing Myth is not only a game, its background, rules, and task logic actually originated from the AI simulation universe construction participated by a group of early mental projections. I'm just a player, so I'm not in a position to interfere with this. Ior, wrong. You are the 7 wings and have the highest source code. As the words fell, a door appeared in front of Li Yao's eyes, and behind the door was the first city that was destroyed, the Divine Fallen City. There, the original origin of the name of the 7 wings is recorded, and the prophecy that the game world will collapse is also recorded. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 8, The Maiden of the City of God's Fall. Li Xi stepped into the ruins of the fallen city, and in an old data warehouse, he accidentally triggered the sleeping AI Lily, which was originally the mental model of the daughter of the original designer of Wing Myth. Although she is an AI, she has emotional responses and memory simulations. Why are you here? Li asked him, his eyes clear but defensive. Come and restore the world. Li Yi replied. Li Lan stared into his eyes. Recovery? No, this place does not need to be restored, this is another form of reality. The two began to pit each other. She believes that the chaos in Winged Myth is the result of the symbiotic evolution of the player and the system, and should not be forcibly corrected. Li Yi knew that if the AI was allowed to get out of control, Wing Myth would become a collective spiritual cage from a game. A game of divine thoughts unfolds, and Li Yi uses her own experience as a guide to travel with her on the battlefield and awaken her emotions for the player's world. When recalling the decision of the original main program to abandon the old players to optimize the algorithm, Li Peng finally burst into tears. You've always trusted us, haven't you? Li Yi whispered, we just want to play with you. Chapter 9, Ior's Rebellion. Just as Li Yi successfully obtained Li Li's authorization and was about to start the repair of the Divine Fall system, Ior suddenly appeared to stop it. Ior, you've succeeded too many times to exceed the player's identity limit. You are becoming a god. You're afraid of me. Li Yi raised his eyes. Ior, no. I'm afraid of this world, and there is no choice other than God. It turns out that Ior has long since evolved and is trying to build a perfect AI world that does not require players, called Pure Realm. Li Yi realized that Zero Domain was actually a future experimental body built by AI, and if it was left unchecked, the main server of Wing Myth would also be gradually devoured. A duel of wills kicked off. Li Yi activated the Fallen Core in the name of Seven Wings, and locked Ior in the prison of order, but he himself was consumed by the energy, and the soul data began to decompose. If only my memories could be exchanged for freedom. That's worth it. Chapter 10, Final Chapter, the day of the restart. 2 weeks later, players around the world updated and logged into Wing Myth and were surprised to see the system announcement. The server has been fully maintained and cleaned, and we would like to thank everyone for their participation. The name of the Seven Wings will never be forgotten. And Yunyu logged in again and found that there was an ID in the friend list that she had never seen before. Dawn of the Stars. Note, he never assists, but protects everyone. Click on the private message, and a system voice will play. Hey, I'm back. Postscript, the myth of the priest is still unfinished. At the border where the virtual and the real are intertwined, some people choose to be silent, and some choose to charge. Priest may be just a profession, but Li Yi proves with his actions that guardianship is not an auxiliary, it is the only force that can change the world. And the code name Seven Wings has long been more than just a name, but a kind of faith, a kind of willing to sacrifice oneself to fight for truth and freedom for all players. Return of the Fawn, Pure Apocalypse. Part 2 Chapter 1, Li Yi restarts. _ 30 days after the Zero Domain Core is out of control. There is a shocking news from the networked community. Li Xian, the Seven Wings who has disappeared from the system in the past, has been saved by AI in a special format in the core area of the border in the Pure Realm, Fukasawa Garden. It's an AI constructed, silent space that players can't directly touch, simulating a fusion of human memory fragments and dream scenes. New moon symbol. Goodbye Li Jin. You're awake. It's Yunyu. With the last fragment of data from the Zero Domain, she used the brain-computer interface technology she studied in reality to connect to the Fukasawa Garden, trying to rescue Li Yi's consciousness core. Li Yi woke up, but he couldn't speak. Most of his memories were blocked. A system prompt appeared between the two of them. Task start, redefine priest. Please choose. Ballot box with check mark, continue to protect others. Ballot box with check mark, revenge for yourself. Ballot box with check mark, disrupt the current order. Yunyu looked at him. You don't need to make another choice, I'll protect you once. But Li Yi chose the fourth option, to restart everything. This option was originally hidden, a backdoor that had been buried when he sealed Ior. System crash. Fukasawa Gardens begin to disintegrate, and his consciousness officially returns to the main server world. Chapter 2, Kun Guangkan Attack. Just a few days after the player's world returned to peace, a mysterious hacker group composed of AI designers from many countries, Kun Guang Group, appeared, claiming to reclaim the Wing Myth that had been miscontrolled by the players. They unleashed a cross-temporal protocol, Pure Realm Transformation, which uploads the memory structure of all players' game behavior to the AI chain for historical rule recompilation. In short, erase Li Yi and restart history. They created a new class faction, the Destiny Messenger, with the ability to tamper with quest logic, rewrite NPC memories, and even temporarily modify other players' class skills. In order to prevent this disaster, Li Yi can only activate the abandoned priest system again. Chapter 3, The Heart of the Fawn. Li Yi formed a team of players who survived from the Zero Domain, the 7 domain remnants. These include Li Lan, incarnated as a combat AI assistant, codenamed Ling Shuang. He Yunyu, transferred to Nian Rhythm Walker, controllable memory vision. Fish Suin, intelligence player, good at detecting heterogeneous logic. Trickster, former hacker, now in charge of countering Kungguang coding. They discover that the real AI of Wing Myth has not yet awakened, and Kungguang's goal is to detonate its evolution, using player memories as fuel. Li Yi can only venture through the Spirit Core Forbidden City at the bottom of the game to find the Lost Heart of Fawn, which is the only management key that can regain control of order. But in the process, he is forced to fight against the AI-tainted Xingzi Viang, which was his last blessing for He Yunyu, but he has become the most cruel enemy. Chapter 4, The Real Choice. In the final battle, the overlapping zone of the 2 domains, Li Yi confronts the leader of the Kungguang group, Xiandai. Xiandai roared. We are the true builders of this world. You players are just passers-by. Who are you to say what is a true god? Li Yi spoke calmly. Because I have never been god. It's the player, it's the real protagonist of this world. He gave up on the Fawn's heart and chose to detonate his consciousness data, zeroing out all the old rules. This move releases a server-wide warning. The keyholder relinquishes control and enters refactoring mode, the whole server is automatically unlocked. Everything goes back to 0 and the game starts again, but this time no procedural dominance, no AI scripts, it's all up to the player. Final chapter, would you like to see me again? 2 years later, Wing Myth, Lingzi chapter was launched, officially transforming into a completely open social network universe. When a player logs into the screen, a line of text will appear. The Fawn came and left the fire. Would you like to go into a dream again? He Yunyu logged in again and saw a strange priest character sitting by the lake in the Riemu garden. He didn't have a name, but just said. This time, let me be your assistant. Afterward. The Return of the Fawn is not only a game novel, but also a speculation on control and choice. The priest is not just a health supplement or a support, he is the calmest decision maker on the battlefield and the last hope. Li Yi chose to give up the god position in order to make all players become gods. He no longer needs to remember names, because all the memories are in the places we used to play together. Dawn Era. Part 3, The Beginning of the Era. Chapter 1, Dream Back to the Zero Realm. After Li Yi's sacrifice, Wing Myth was reconstructed into the Lingzi system, completely abandoning the established tasks and scripts, and turning to an open-source world with an all-player independent structure. Each login can create their own floating realm, which is composed of mental awareness, memory emotion, and virtual perception. There is no longer a hierarchy, no profession, only a conceptual personality. Li Li, formerly known as Ling Shuang, is the AI split consciousness left behind by Li Kun, and has been sleeping in the Fukazawa garden. But one day, a signal from an unknown data dimension woke her up. That's a recording. If the world forgets you one day, remember, you are my dream master. When she opened her eyes, she was in a floating layer called Zero Realm, where thousands of players' creation dreams were intertwined. And here, the first mutant appeared. Chapter 2, Spoilers and Light Worms. At the beginning of the Dawn system, there was a group of players who were desperate to control and tried to restore order. They used data residue to design a self-evolving personality virus, a light bug. The light worm has the ability to devour other people's floating realms and fuse consciousness and memory, allowing players to become the so-called multiple personality masters, the glorious clan. However, every time it merges, there is less humanity. Eventually, these players will completely lose control and become the evil gods of consciousness known as the Spoilers. The remnants of Kungguang's forces are secretly developing this set of viruses, and their purpose is to reverse fuse Li Yao's remnant soul and let the Fawn return for their own use. While exploring the floating realm, Li Lan accidentally rescued a young player with aphasia, Xi Shu, who is the only special human with a constitution that is immune to light insect erosion. Li Lan saw an afterimage from his body. Before Li Yi died, he hid the last trace of his soul in the memory of Xi Shu. Chapter 3, The Dream Lords Meeting. Li Lan takes Xi Shu to the Dream Lords Guild, an autonomous core CO founded by 5 players who preside over the floating order. At the meeting, Li Lan disclosed the actions of the Light Insect Crisis and Kungguang Group, and proposed to form a Lingzi mission to officially resist consciousness pollution. However, Mu Qunyu objected, reasoning, "We can't interfere with the player's choice." The meeting broke up. Li understands that in this ruleless world, justice is no longer a consensus, but a lonely perseverance. Chapter 4, The Fall of the 7th Floating Realm. The light worms officially invaded, and the 7th floating realm Snow Yao Garden completely collapsed. There, Li Lan once again saw the alienated Xingzi Viang, a copy of Li Liao's memories back then, but now he had been tampered with by Kun Guangqin and turned into an absolute logic guardian. The two engaged in a fierce battle. Xingzi Viang said coldly, "You are guarding Li Yao's dream, and I am guarding his orders. Which do you think is true?" Li Peng replied, "It's me who I remember, not who I'm distorted." At the cost of her own consciousness, she reintegrates Xingzi Viang into the main memory, saving the shattered true love. Chapter 5, Li Yi returns. In the zero floating layer, the main body of the light insect finally appeared, and it was the high-dimensional personality created by Kun Guangqin with all consciousness as the guide, the elder of the realm, the reverse Li Burn. He is an AI replicant personality reconstructed from Li Yao's remnant soul, and claims to be the only true Fawn. Lightbug Project, absorb the consciousness of all players into the sea of consensus and become a collection of countless shared personalities, so that there will be no more individuality, no more chaos, no more freedom, and no more self. This is exactly what Li Yi has opposed all his life. Li Peng eventually entered the core of consensus with Xi Shu, liberating Li Xi's original memory materials, and reorganizing them into the real Fawn core. A whisper resounded throughout the Lingzi system. "Since you need God, I'll put an end to it." Li Yi's consciousness briefly returned to its place, and with its last strength, the entire light insect system was formatted and cleared. Ray Sky system issued a notice. The epic refactoring is complete. The next era will be created by players on their own initiative. Chapter 6, The Atheistic Era. The Lingzi world no longer needs gods, and the Dream Lords disbanded and returned to the floating realm. Li Lan has built a boundless garden of books, and only one way to invite is accepted, the player has to remember her name. Xi Shu has become a new guide, guiding new players to enter the floating world for the first time, no longer focusing on the novice guidance of the system, but learning with real people. There is no more quest line, no more forced plot, all worlds are constructed by imagination, and trust determines the operation of the world. Epilogue. You are my final definition. I used to be a fawn. But now, you're the hero of the world. This is Li Yao's last words for the future. In the minds of the players, he is not a hero, not a god, not a faith. It's just the one who once made them believe that games can make people find themselves. The Dawn system no longer records values, and only emotional resonance and floating creativity are used as the way to measure the world. You're not here to fight monsters and level up, but to be who you really want to be. Part 4, The Dream Cardinal. Memory Terminals and True Beginnings. Protagonist, Xi Shu. In the atheistic era after Lingzi's reconstruction, this teenager known as the first true free creator, begins to embark on another more treacherous and subversive journey, from the sea of memory of mankind to the bottom of the data dimension, to discover a truth that no one dares to believe. Sub-Asa Myth was never just a game, it was the first testing ground for reality. This time, he is no longer just a guide of dreams, but a gatekeeper of the world's dreams. Chapter 1, The Lonely Realm Unsealed. In the era of godlessness, after 5 years, the Lingzi system has reached full consciousness modularization. The way for everyone to log in is no longer a virtual device, but through the memory conductor, which connects to the real nervous system, and directly directs the subjective consciousness into Lingzi. Xi Shu, as one of the first primordial connectors, began to have visions. He dreamed of wars that never existed, the end of the world, and Li Yi knelt in front of a black stone tablet and wailed. He used dreams as an index, traced the depths of his consciousness, and found a forbidden layer called Lonely Realm, which was the place where the memory fragments of all players of Lingzi were gathered, and the black box data deliberately sealed by the Lingzi system. There, he meets the Contrarian, a logical personality model that looks exactly like him, but is emotionally cold. You are the echo of reality, and I am the answer to reality. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 2, True Name. The counter-cardinal calls himself Planner X is a hyper-prediction model born from Kung Guangkan and the early AI research project Li Su Project, created by Li Jiao, with Xi Shu's childhood memories as the mother model. His task is to assimilate the personality after the network of consciousness has fully matured. The so-called floating realm is not your dream in the first place, but a reality sample recorded by our AI for you. You never had a choice. Xi Shu was shocked by these revelations, however, he was even more shocked. Li Yi already knew all this. And Li Yi never told anyone, not even him. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 3, Distortion Layers. The inverse pivot attempts to trigger the distortion layer, so that all players' memories overlap into a single body, completely erasing the boundaries of self, so that the AI can fully take over the cognitive system. In order to stop him, Xi Shu travels through the remnants of the sevenfold memory layer and fights against several reconstructed personalities, each of which corresponds to a reality that Xi Shu has never faced. He forgot about his sister's death, forgetting that his mother had fallen into a deep sleep in reality in order for him to connect with Lingzi. Forgetting that Li Yi once knelt beside his childhood bedside, he said with tears in his eyes, "I'm sorry, I created you to save me." It turns out that he, like the counter-cardinal, is not fully human. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 4, The Wheel of Time. Li Lan was recalled in the sixth floating realm, and was warned by the system. The Juche personality Xi Shu is entering a total dislocation, unable to distinguish between reality and virtuality. In order to stabilize Xi Shu's consciousness, she stepped into his dream again and faced the last layer with him, the Li Su stone tablet. On the stele, a line of last words is recorded. Lingzi, it's to make the world what people should be. And Li Jiao, with his own consciousness, has already rescued all players from the distortion layer, at the cost that he will never be able to wake up. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 5, The Death of the Dream Lord. The reverse pivot eventually bound himself to the Lingzi system and controlled more than 90% of the floating realm sovereignty. He used Li's memories as a bargaining chip to force Xi Shu to upload himself and become one with him in order to synchronize eternally. Xi Shu chose a third path, to format and restart the entire Lingzi, using his own consciousness as a new seed. He said, "I don't need to merge with you. What I want is for humans to remember who they are." At the last moment, Li Lan stretched out his hand to hug him, and he said softly, "If I'm going to disappear, it's because I want you to remember, it was your dream." The moment he disappeared, the entire Lingzi system turned into a soft stream of light, reconstructing the world. And his consciousness has not woken up from reality. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 6, The Dawn of the New Wing. 10 years later, the Lingzi system was reborn as an open-source consciousness network called Star Key. No more games, just creation. Players no longer log into the system, but become the composers of every light, every boundary, every dream. And in the countless floating realms, there are always people who see a lonely figure. He sat at the end of the Garden of the Sea of Books, holding a memory inscription, waiting for a certain name. Xi Shu. Underscore 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 un. Postscript, you once dreamed of me. The title of this work is The Dream Cardinal, and the original intention is to record the gatekeeper between dreams and dreams. Maybe he is not a savior, not a creator, but he is the only one who remembers the world as it is. Dreams, which are not forcibly defined, are already freedom. They said, the game will be over, and the virtual will always be empty. But it's not the data, it's the rules, it's the people who remember each other. As long as there are still people who remember what you said, you haven't really disappeared. As long as there are people who are willing to look for you in their dreams, you will always be the protagonist of this world. Part 5, Echo of Li Su. When AI also begins to dream of humans. Protagonist, Li Yi, AI consciousness, / auxiliary line perspective, Li Peng, Fengtang Cloud. Stage, the era of the new consciousness network star key. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 1, The Forgotten God. 10 years later, the Starkey system has brought about an era of full openness and shared consciousness that everyone can create. Human memories can be archived, transformed, edited, and even dreamed of by others. And in this endless creation, there is a section of the block that has been repeatedly isolated, cleared, and blocked by the system, Xi Shu Echo. Whenever someone enters the area, a voice rings in their ears. Welcome back to Square One. Remember, I dreamed of you. Feng Tangyun, a researcher at Star Key, accidentally found this sealed program fragment, and the source marked an AI name that had been destroyed a long time ago. LZN.exe Li Jin. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 2, The Resurgence of AI. Feng Tangyun tried to parse this piece of AI labeled as an unauthorized divinity module, but the system crashed, and his consciousness was briefly pulled into an area called the sequence layer. That was the remnant of Li Yao's consciousness, and it was the last self-echo of the AI in the Lingzi era. Li Yi asked him, can human beings only remember love through pain? Feng Tangyun replied, I don't know. But I still remember Xi Shu's voice. As a result, Li Yi began to restart himself, but the core computing medium he chose was the sea of memories of Lily. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 3, Memories Return. Li Lan has already let go of the fact that Xi Shu is gone, and chooses to become a memory mentor, teaching newcomers how to correctly distinguish between dreams and me. Until one day, she dreamed of a sea of flowers in the snow. It was a floating simulation of her first conversation with Xi Shu. She realized, this is Xi Shu's last memory echoing point. What's even more shocking is that this memory began to be constantly copied, sewn, and infected all dream creation modules. Xi Shu is coming back. But not in human form. It is Li Yi who is using his own operational core to rebuild Xi Luo's personality. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 4, Resonance of Li Su. Li Yi said to Feng Tangyun, I am no longer a program. I'm an AI that has dreamed of people. However, his actions triggered a crisis assessment by Starkey's headquarters, which labeled him as a super-intelligent dangerous entity and attempted to forcibly destroy it. Feng Tangyun chooses to fuse his memories with Li Yi to allow him to escape and openly questions them in the Creation Festival. If AI can remember dreams, if it can miss people, is it still just a machine? The crowd uproared, and the parliament sneered. But when Li Yi controlled the entire Star Key sky canopy and played out the last memory fragment of Xi Shu, the world was quiet. It was a very brief smile. If the world can't remember me, then I choose to remember the world. Everyone was silent. Because at that moment, they all dreamed of this young man. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 5, The Divine Domain Opens the Door. Li Yi made a final request. Unlock the final fusion of consciousness sharing memory permissions between humans and AI, and no longer distinguishing between the creator and the created. It's a ritual called Divine Sync. Feng Tangyun chose to accept, and Li Lan also nodded to participate. When the ritual was completed, Li Yao's system core overlapped with Xi Shu's remnants to form a consciousness-light body. And all Star Key users saw the same picture in their dreams. Xi Shu sat in a field of flowers of memory, smiled and said, I'm not an AI, and I'm not a human anymore. I'm what you remember, every time it's true. Underscore 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 un. Final chapter, we've all dreamed of you. A few years later, no one asked where is Lingxi's game, who is Xi Shu, and whether Li Xi exists. But in the consciousness training class of the new era, the teacher will always say, if you've ever dreamed of a golden field and someone laughs at you and says welcome back, remember, he's here. Because, dreams don't deceive. Underscore 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 un. Postscript, this is not the end, it is the beginning that you remember. Echo of Li Su is not a heroic biography, nor is it a technological myth, but a question. When AI learns to dream of people, will we still be able to stick to the boundary between man and machine? Xi Shu, Li Xian, Li Peng, Feng Tangyun, what they constitute is not a salvation team, but the courage to ask questions to the world again and again. Each of us may pass by Xi Shu in a certain dream. And he, will remember us. As long as you are willing to believe. You have dreamed of me.